So welcome back. So the biggest question that we always get asked is, I don't really know what I need. I just know I need liability, right? That's what everyone always says. So there's a lot more to it than just that. So for starters, we will never do to you what my insurance agent used to do to me, which was show around every year about a month before the renewal, try to catch me to see if I added on extra employees so that he could hit me for more premium every year, and then basically give me a bill and say, here it is, I need a certain amount of down payment. So we don't do that here. So we need to explain exactly what kind of coverages you have. Since becoming an insurance agent, I was amazed to say, I never knew. So we don't want that to happen to you. Okay, so the first thing that we should talk about is your general liability. Your general liability is either imposed. The certain limits are either imposed by your landlord, or they are imposed by the state for which you reside, which your used car lot is in. Usually they have minimums. They don't want you to get too low of a certain amount, so you have to get at least a certain amount of a limit of liability. Your landlord, and we're going to talk about what the liability does, but your landlord is going to require this as well. Usually it's found on the lease. If for whatever reason it's not, ask them, okay? In any event, what is the liability? This general liability is going to cover you for a plethora of different things, which consequently this comprises the bulk of your insurance premium. So this really makes up the biggest part of your premium amount. So that's why I was mentioning, if you're going to use a smaller amount, it's going to be considerably cheaper. If you have to use a higher amount, then oh well, then we pay accordingly, right? So what we're going to talk about is the general liability. That encompasses several different things. For one, if you took a car off the lot and you hurt someone in another vehicle, a pedestrian, someone who's maybe a passenger in your car that's unrelated to you, if you wind up hurting them and they suffered bodily injury, then this insurance will go to pay for that claim. Okay, so that's the first thing that GL does, your general liability does. The second thing is it also is going to cover you for operations at the lot. So for example, if you've seen somebody's foot ever get run over by a car, which I have had happen to me, this will cover you for that amount of your limit of liability on your policy. So if you have someone at your lot and you wind up running over their foot by chance, they're going to sue you. You'll have coverage for that up to your limit of liability. The third thing is for completed operations. Your general liability usually comes with completed operations. That means if you sold a car and someone claims that because you sold them the car that they suffered bodily injury, and they sue you because of that. For example, a wheel falls off. They say that because you sold them the car and the wheel fell off, we're going to sue you. It's your fault. Even though you didn't build the car, you didn't work on the car, they're going to sue you. Okay? That again is your completed operations of your general liability. Okay? The last thing that your general liability is going to cover is also going to be your landlord. So for sake of argument, if you're in a strip mall and you take up only a small portion of the strip mall, yet you have neighbors right next to you, right? What happens is if you burn down your place and it extends and wipes out your neighbors in that same building, that limit of liability will go to pay for each one of them. Okay, so your general liability pays for a lot of things, whether you're taking a car out and you're driving and you hurt someone, whether you're going to wind up having a slip and fall accident or you run someone's toe over on the lot, if you had completed operations, and the last thing is also the building itself for your landlord, okay, assuming you don't own the building. Now, the next thing is also for your open lot. Your open lot or physical damage is the comp and collision for your vehicles. Those vehicles that you own, or maybe you have it floor planned, whatever the case, anything that's titled, any vehicles that are titled in your name for your business, that is what we're going to cover for your open lot. Now, do you have to get open lot? No, you do not. Your own your own state which you reside, they don't care if you lose all your inventory. They only wanted to make sure that the public is protected. Okay, so as far as the open lot, it is something recommended that you get coverage for your open lot. So, for example, somebody comes in, smashes up all the windows in the cars and with a hammer in the middle of the night because they were mad at you, you would have coverage for that. Again, I've been through that. So that's your open lot. In addition, what if a car is stolen? Had that happen? What if a car is crashed, right? So there's various different things that cover for your dealer's open lot. We will assist you in coming up with that number. Okay, so you don't have to say, well, geez, I'm not exactly sure, so we can help you with that. So no worries. Another thing too is also going to be garage keepers. So if you happen to have a mechanic's garage or an auto body garage, no problem. What happens is any vehicles that are in your CCC, care, custody, and control, any vehicles that do not belong to you, that are in your care, custody, and control, those are the vehicles that need garage keepers, okay? And again, you may say, I have no idea how much coverage I need with that. That's where our associates here will all help you to derive at that number to customize the insurance that you really need, okay? Another thing too is for commercial auto. So let's say you have a flatbed, you have a tow truck. Yes, I know it has the plate on the vehicle. Maybe it's not registered separately. Maybe you own it outright, bought it at an auction, what have you. That vehicle, we do need to schedule onto your policy. Okay, so we're going to ask you for that vehicle information. All right, so that's also a commercial auto. The next thing is professional. Professional coverage is more like your E&O, your errors and omissions. So if somewhere some lawyer says that you didn't cross your T and dot your I and we're going to sue you, which again happened to me many times, that E&O coverage is there to help you because you're supposed to be the professional that knows how to do financing, knows how to sell to the customer and do all the paperwork correctly. Okay, so that E&O is something that, again, you don't have to have. The state does not require it. Your landlord does not require it. But again, it is something that you should have. That's why we have these discussions with you. All right. And another type of coverage that we would ask you about is also property coverage. So maybe you do have a garage. Maybe you do have a bunch of tools in the back that you need to make sure that they're insured. Okay, again, these are some of the questions we're going to ask you. What's the value of that? Chances are most used car dealers, they really don't have a whole lot. They have a computer, they have a couple of desks and chairs and things of that nature. So if they did get sued, if they did get robbed, someone took all that out, you would then have coverage for that. If you didn't have your business personal insurance in your business property insurance in place while you have your policy, then at that point you're not going to be covered, and then your office gets broken into in the middle of the night. So just to give you an idea, those are some of the insurances that we can provide for you. Again, one of our associates will go through it much slower than I am. I'm trying to rush so I don't keep you on here too long. But yes, that's part of what we do. We don't just say, here's a bill, pay us. Instead, we're going to actually be able to go through this step by step with you. So if one of our agents here has to ask you some personal type questions, now you know why. Okay? Hope that helped a little bit.